friends. This is the Be Real Babe podcast, a place where your average babes come together to talk about life stresses, messes, and successes. A place where being yourself is the ultimate goal, where your opinion, your story, and your individual experience matters. Join me, your host B, and my guests for real and raw talks every week, laying it all out there so we can all help each other learn more, grow deeper, and evolve collectively. Now keep in mind, as a disclaimer, no one here is an expert and no one is giving any advice. This is strictly our opinions, thoughts, feelings, and for entertainment purposes only. Now with that being said, it's time. So grab your drink, grab your joint, and let's jump right in. Welcome everyone, welcome to the Be Real Babe podcast. If this is your first time here, thank you so much for stopping by the show today. I hope that you have a good time. And if you're a returning listener, watcher, supporter, thank you guys so much from the bottom of my heart for coming back time and time again. For those that don't know me, my name is Brandy. I am the host of the show. And today, guys, we are on episode 179, What in the Actual Internet, Part 3 with Hollie G. Can we just talk about my rhyming skills this season? Because, some of it just naturally happened, but I just want to say it's because I'm just universally a lyricist. I don't know. No, I'm just kidding. But that worked out perfectly, you guys. I love these episodes. This has been so much fun. And I missed Hollie G. It's been a while. She hasn't been on this season yet. So it felt perfect to bring her on to talk about weird shit that we found on the internet and that we did. I mean, as usual, in total fashion of us Sagittarius sisters, we are all over the place in this episode. However, we nail 3 really crazy things that are going on online. And then we talk about the craziness in our lives and politics and all that shit, all wrapped up into an amazing hour-and-a-half episode. You guys are gonna love it. But before we get to that, I just want to remind you, if you are watching on YouTube or Rumble, make sure to like, subscribe, turn on notifications, comment for engagement if you can, and make sure if you are following on YouTube that you're following on the new account, not the old account. And if you are listening on Apple or Spotify, you can also follow and turn on notifications and leave a review if you guys are feeling spicy. I appreciate it very much. And if you want to find me on social media, you can find me on Instagram or Pinterest at the Be Real Babe podcast or on Facebook at the Be Real Collective. I hope you guys are enjoying season 7. I'm having an amazing time. I cannot believe we're already on month 3. Time is flying by. We really only have 2 more months left to go before I take my summer break and then come back in season 8 in the fall. Can you believe it, guys? But we still have 3 full seasons and we got to wrap this one up. So let's get to it. All right, babes, it's time to get on to the show. And with me today, joining me for the 19,000th time, which I'm so excited, is my babe, Hollie G. Hello. I stopped counting.
Oh, hey.
I stopped counting.
There's a lot.
I just stopped counting. I think at this point, you've got the status of a co-host now from the years and the amount of times that you've been on. So I definitely would say you're catching up to the OG co-host for sure on your visits. So I love it so much. And so, yeah, thank you for joining me today, because I was like, you know what? Not that I don't want to always catch up on your personal life, which I do. But this one, I was like, I know that you're going to love doing this one with me, because it's just talking about shit on the internet that we find. And, it's sometimes so nice to talk about our lives, but it's also nice to just escape a little bit and talk about weird shit.
Yeah. Well, I feel like most of my life is also weird, so it kind of ties in.
Yeah, it does. And you just find all these things and you're like, I have to talk to somebody about this. Like, am I crazy? Like, this can't be real life, but
Yeah.
it is. But before we jump into some weird shit that we found online, how are you? What's new? What's exciting?
Well, I don't know the last time you had me,
I
so
know.
have I seen you since January? Probably not, hey?
Not on the show. In real life?
No, okay.
Eh.
Yeah! Okay, so since you've had me on here last, I have condensed all of my fun endeavors into one business. So instead of having like multiple energy zapping things, I have lumped all of my creative things into one business named the HG Experience. So it covers the hair, the healing, the handmade stuff. I also launched a children's book, so that's under there as well. I got my handmade stuff into 3 new stores. Oh my God. What else? I've been still running workshops like I was in the
Yes.
fall.
Mm-hmm.
I actually have one this afternoon. What else? Holy shit. It's been a
Any
bit.
events coming up?
I have a workshop this afternoon, and then I'm doing North Country Fair this year. So if you don't know what that
Nice.
is, it's like a big hippie fest in Drift Pile, and it's a music event all weekend, and I get to go down there and just wear no shoes and sell my handmade stuff and listen to music and smoke a whole lot of weed. My kids love it. They go off with other kids, and it's just like the best experience. And it falls on summer solstice weekend, so it's a great way to
Oh,
kind of bring that in too.
that's perfect.
Um, I am going to Newfoundland for August for the whole month of August.
Whole month.
So like a lot of things, but at the same time, like not a lot of things. And I don't know how to explain that in a different way, but
The goals are
like
the
we're still
same.
doing the
You're just
things.
chipping. You're just chipping at the
Yeah,
goals all the time, doing
we're
the
just doing the
things.
things and it's
Yeah,
just happening and it's
creating.
kind of just like flowing. I also get to be a facilitator at an awesome rage retreat in June as well, just
Nice.
outside of Edmonton. I was brought in as a facilitator for that, so that's going to be super cool. It's all sold out, but like it's going to be we're just talking about our emotions and tapping into that rage all weekend. So by the end of that, I'm sure I'm
Nice.
going to sleep for a week, which is going to be freaking awesome. But
Oh, I
yeah, like
love that.
that's what's happening here. A lot of more energy stuff. I'm tapping definitely more into that side of things, which feels really, really damn good.
Yeah, and it suits, it aligns. And I think it's like all the things that you do always kind of bring you back to the same thing. And it's like, yeah, we're doing all these different things to an end goal, right? Like all of it
Yeah,
works synergistically together. And I just think, like you said, now it's like you put all the things into one big title. So it all has come together. And it's just such a beautiful journey. And I love when people share kind of the whole part of it, right? It's not like
yeah,
you just waited till your HG experience. You've had all of these bricks along the way and you've shown people all the different things and all the different ways you can be an artist and then build that into a business, for the rest of your life that you can do with your girls and with your friends. And so
yeah.
it's been so great to watch you grow. And like it's kind of cool because your journey is also time stamped on the show too. Like if you go back to season 1, just like with me and Kayla, you'll have your timestamps from, I was scared my face, your timestamps from like 2020, so it's really cool to keep.
Yeah.
That's why I like having certain people back on too that want to come at least every season, because if you go back you can kind of see your growth as well. So super proud of you as always. It was so nice that we got to
Thank
see each
you.
other in real life and have a burger and a visit and sunshine.
Yes,
That was
so
perfect.
good.
Even though Grand Prairie gave me a lot of PTSD. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah.
It was a
I was like,
beautiful.
yeah, that checks out.
Yeah,
That's
I was
fair.
like, okay, done. Just kidding. The drive was beautiful though. It was a bluebird day, and it was so nice to go through all the mountains again and just kind of reminisce the growth that I've had since living there. But yeah, so
Hell yeah.
today, guys, we found some interesting things on the internet, and I'm gonna start with Lana Thompson, aka Honey Boo Boo. So
Oh shit.
most of us, yeah. So in this episode, we didn't tell each other what we were going to talk about or what topics we were going to bring up. We were just kind of like blind iteming it. So I want to start with Honey Boo Boo, and the reason why there's just a lot of talk going on with her and her mom right now, which I'm not very familiar too much with their story, but I do remember growing up and watching her on kind of TLC, like I watched TLC a lot growing up, and then there's a point where I just kind of stopped because I kind of have like this moral weird feeling sometimes watching people that are going through struggles. Like, yes, sometimes it's motivating, but I also wonder how much is exploiting them. And when stories
Mm,
come out like this, or like we've seen in the last episode of what the actual internet, where I cover Nickelodeon and all the child stars, here's another situation where she's worked since she was 6 years old on Toddlers and Tiaras is where she started out, and then they had Here Comes Honey Boo Boo, and she has been working since she's 6 years old. So I don't know if people know this, but she was about to go to college, do a totally different life, gonna move to Arizona, go to college, finds out she has $33,000, and that is it.
wait,
Ma-
what?
Mama June spent all of it.
No.
Yeah,
Holy shit.
so that to me is one of the biggest problems that I actually feel like I have with Hollywood is that the
Hmm.
protection of the kids and the money that they have. And we've seen that with boy groups like NSYNC and Backstreet Boys. There's a documentary on Netflix, sorry, no, on YouTube by Lance Bass, I believe. And it was about how they never got paid in the first couple years and all this stuff. And we see abuse with like Amanda Bynes and Britney Spears and all this. And even TLC stars like Honey Boo Boo, same thing. So in this article from, it's kind of funny. The first article I found was actually in Yahoo Finance, which I find super interesting to be
That is
reporting on it.
interesting.
But
Yeah.
at the same time, it's kind of like I think they're important people that need to come to the conversation. So let's read some of this. So Honey Boo Boo is all grown up, but her bank account has shrunk. During last week's episode of Mama June Family Crisis. So she still has her own show, by the way. Alana Honey Boo Boo Thompson confronted her mother, Mama June Shannon, for draining their money she earned as a child star. It's all brought up labor laws from back in Charlie Chaplin days. So now 18, Thompson catapulted into reality TV fame back in the early 2000s as a star on the TLC Toddlers and Tiaras. She revealed last year to ET that she would be attending Regis University in Denver. Oh, sorry, Denver that she's going to after getting a $21,000 scholarship to pursue nursing. Like, good for her. Like, I think this is
Yeah.
incredible. Like, I just want to pause for a second and be like, how amazing that you did that as a child, and you're just like, hey, I still want to go and do something else in the world. I still want to go help. Like she stumbled into fame, and she was like, but I still want to do something else. So I just want to point out how cool I
Yeah.
think that is, because like
Absolutely. And we see that with
I
like other celebrities too, and with like child
mhm,
stars and stuff like that. Because I think Amanda
totally.
Bynes turned around and got like her aesthetics course, so she was doing nails,
Hmm.
and I think there's some one of the Sprouse brothers went and
Yes,
did
yeah, yeah,
something different too.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like I like to see that too because it's like
Hmm.
after being in the light so long, like, it's got to get
Hmm.
exhausting. It's got to.
Yeah. And too, I think at that age, how do you consent, right? Like how do you know that
Hmm.
you want to do that? You're just kind of like pushed into it as a child. So I don't know, it's just kind of cool to see her realize that that's still not what she wanted, even though it made her fame. But I mean, how sad is that now is that she wants to go and do that, and she's going to have to find other ways to do that and raise money because Mama June spent all the money. So the article carries on to say that why was my money being used or being touched? Thompson questioned Shannon, referring to the money she earned from Honey Boo Boo and Dancing with the Stars. She was also on Dancing with the Stars not that long ago, where there should be money from that too. So that's three different mainstream shows that she should be having a fuck ton of money. Um, she said, "What the fuck was making? What was the fuck was you making?" Oh, sorry, it's because it said in there. What the fuck was you making a Coogan account for? I don't have really the money for it. She continued after finding an account had less than money she thought. To be honest, if you think about it, Mama, what the hell is $33,000?
For
So
real.
I guess, yeah. So it's saying the disputed Coogan account stretches back to the age of silent acting. The Coogan Law is named after Jackie Coogan, a child actor who catapulted to fame after being discovered by Charlie Chaplin. While he was the tit- titular kid in the movie The Kid, Coogan's stardom didn't equate to the financial stability. According to SAG-AFTRA, it wasn't until the 21st birthday after the death of his father and the dwindling of his film career that Jackie realized he was left with none of the earnings he had worked so hard for as a child. Um, so that's kind of where the state law kind of came out, I guess, is after the former child actor sued, the Coogan Law was born in California, wherein 15% of a child's gross wage must be withheld by employer and put into a Coogan account. Similar legislation is required in New York, Illinois, Kansas, Louisiana, Nevada, New Mexico, North Carolina, Pennsylvania, and Tennessee. It should be just fucking all, and Canada,
Everywhere.
but
Yeah,
it's just
everywhere.
everywhere. Yeah, so I find this super interesting, and if you actually go through majority of these stars, they will say the same thing about this: is that
Hmm.
their parents spent all their money. Like, it just makes me sad because I was saying in the last episode is that they then develop this like idea that they need to carry the family,
Hmm.
and the pressure's all on them, and then that makes the parents treat them differently, their siblings treat them differently, and then they treat themselves differently because they put a lot of pressure, and then these kids are getting abused and then told to shut up. So it's like you're silently being abused, and then the pressure. No wonder they have like Britney Spears moments and Amanda By moments, man. Like, the more and more I learn about this, I'm just like, I want to shave
That
my
makes
fucking
sense.
head for them.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, right? Well, you look at that
sad.
stuff too, and you're like, okay, but the amount of pressure that they put on themselves, they also have to grow up incredibly quick. They don't get to actually have a childhood, right? And I was actually going to sidebar because I seen yesterday everything with JoJo Siwa
Oh my
and
god.
how everything has changed with her, and how
Ridiculous.
she was basically saying that she was inventing gay pop, but also like to back up, she has been coloring her hair. Her mom has been bleaching her hair since the age of 2. Like,
Yes.
I'm a hairstylist and that freaks me out. My girls want to color their hair, and my 10-year-old, I won't touch her with lightener yet. So, that just makes me think of like, I don't want to like accuse that of like child abuse, but I feel like that's
I feel like it is
definitely
though.
borderline. That's real
Yeah.
young, like to have your hair done like that. I don't know.
Hmm.
There's just a, yeah. Ugh.
It's such a fine line. And that's where I'm at too. And like JoJo's another one that's like super question mark, especially right now. It's like, really, you can't just say that you're having a Miley Cyrus banger moment. You just kind of have to
Hmm.
like naturally progress it. Like, and I'm not saying she's not, like, I get wanting to go from the child star to that, but it's like, I think it's really cool when they kind of go away for a bit and then just kind of like find themselves and then come out.
And
It
come
just seems
back.
like, yeah, you've only been living what your stars and your fans want and all that kind of stuff, what the industry wants you to be. How about you take a step back now that you're an adult and go through the life and really figure out, like, do it for yourself. Figure out what you want instead of trying to be like, oh well, all the young stars went from this, like, I want people to take me seriously, and I'm like, I don't know if she wants to be like a sexual young lady because she doesn't really seem like she's the type that really, like, I don't know, the outfit she was wearing just kind of more looked like a Kiss concert kind of thing
More
more
of like
than
a
like,
heart wanting to be like metal or something, like
yeah,
go
I'm
down to
not
be metal. Yeah.
sure. Yeah, and it's cool to want to change stuff, but when you're just pushing it down everyone's throat and just convincing them who you are, I think, go away for a bit. Like, why can't you take, like, y'all make so much money, take a step back for a bit, like, how
You
kids don't
can do
always,
that. You're allowed.
yeah, exactly. And you know how kids like are, and like, you take a break sometimes before going to college or going to university, right?
Hmm.
Just to do your own thing. I feel like the same thing with acting. If you're a child star, maybe take a break. You've made a ton of money, but take a break and see if that's actually what you want. Are you just getting hyped up because that's the environment and that's what you grew up around? Or,
Mm.
like, I don't know. I just feel like it's sad for them, especially because you're so formidable in your younger ages, and like your 20s is, of course you can learn at any age, but it's definitely much easier to do it younger and gain the experience. So it's like, I don't know. I would never discourage any. Well, yeah, I would. I love entertainment, but at the same time, I'm just like, it is a dirty, nasty fucking place, it feels like. And I just don't know that there's any layer of
Yeah.
protection for kids?
Well,
But
you
then,
think of like Hannah Montana. Like I feel like Miley Cyrus was like one of the ones that came out really, really well. And on top of it,
mm-hmm, mm-hmm,
I don't know, I give her mad props actually. I really, really
yeah,
like her.
good.
And like the shade that she throws in her songs and her music after her divorce and everything. Oh
Yeah,
shit, like I really enjoy her.
yeah.
Um, but when it comes to like you look at the ones who had their stardom in like say like Disney or Nickelodeon or whatever,
Mm-hmm,
um, no wonder why they go like absolutely crazy later on, like 100%, like all that pressure, all of that, and then their parents trying to
mm-hmm,
control everything,
mm-hmm,
like Britney Spears, and also like I feel like Christina came out okay.
yep.
She's out there
She
doing
seems
the things.
somewhat.
She
And,
seems like,
oh, I was just gonna say, Hillary Duff. I feel like she's been very unproblematic. Like, I haven't
mm,
ever really heard much about her. Like, there was some Disney, but I think too, like, I'm not trying to say that, but I think sometimes the level of involvement of the parents too, right? Like, if
oh,
you even listen
100%.
through some of the Nickelodeon stuff, when they're talking, like, because Raven and some other fellow came out talking about it too, saying like they can see stuff, they get it, but like some of them, their parents were there all the time. Like, there was
You're
none of
right.
that. Like, you know what I mean? So I think some of them, like, even I think it was like Frankie Muniz, I think, off of what's that? What was that show when we were younger that he was on?
Oh, yes. Boy, no, not Boy Meets World. He
Like,
was off of that one
you
that had the
know,
older sister. I
yes, Frankie in
and
the
I even
Middle
I could
or something,
uh
in middle something.
maybe
Anyways,
something in the middle. Yeah. Um. Oh,
me in
frick!
the
I gotta
middle,
look that up
or
now. Hang on.
I
No,
know,
no.
and
Now that we're talking about it, we're gonna figure that out. But
but
like,
he even says he won't, he wouldn't put his kids in it. Like, there's some that just like they did what they did and they got out and they're like, this isn't for me. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, a
it's
hundred
not,
percent.
and they don't want their kids in it, and then some of them just push them right into it. So I think sometimes, like, but then you see, like, with Drake Bell, his dad was trying to protect him, and everyone said that he was being homophobic for
Yeah, he
saying
was the
that
bad
Brian
guy.
Peck, like, he was the bad guy. And it's just like, okay, so, okay, hold on here. This is why it's like, I think it's more important to have more conversations and be more willing to, let's say, offend somebody than and protect children more often. Like, I would
Right.
rather, if someone came to me and thought for whatever reason I was doing something, let's say it's like that, I'd rather talk it out with that person, make them feel good, than just like get mad and not have the conversation. Because I would rather,
Oh yeah. Could you
we
imagine
ask him,
holding
I don't know.
Yeah, could you imagine the amount of like turmoil that Drake has felt in the past years? Like years. He's been sitting with that for
Yeah,
fucking years. And he was
years.
probably to the point where if he had to share that a while ago, he would have lost his job
Yeah.
and he was the one who was, handling his own shit. So
Mm-hmm.
like I could absolutely see how it was really, really hard for him to want to share that in the first place. He never even knew how to word it. And like that's
No,
you can see how broken he was in on an interview and it just gives me chills.
totally.
Also, Frankie
Malcolm in the
Muniz is a
middle.
Malcolm in the middle. I was just pulling it up. And
Because that
also
came
I
to
was
me.
going to add to that. I was like, so I know at the end of Quiet on Set there was some
Mm-hmm.
of the shows that were being discontinued and no longer
Mm-hmm.
being aired. And one of those was like iCarly, and there's a couple other ones. And Zadie is at that age where she's really watching some of that stuff now too. So it was like iCarly, and actually some of the stuff like brought up in Nickelodeon, I was like, oh, like that doesn't feel right. Like I like as an adult, I'm like, ew. Like I never would have thought that that would have passed. Like that is definitely, and you see that though with like a lot of kids shows, and I'm not just
Yeah.
trying to diss Nickelodeon, but you see
Nope.
like the sexual innuendos, the
Mm-hmm.
sad, the funny jokes that are geared towards adults that kids don't get. So I'm not trying to
Yeah.
like discredit,
Mm-mm.
at the same time, it's just like, okay, it's very eye opening. But at the same time, yeah, Zadie, I think this girl Lele, and there's a couple other shows that were being discontinued, and I had to like take Zadie aside and have this conversation and be like, hey, honey,
Mm-hmm.
like just so you know, some of your shows are no longer going to be aired. And she's like, why? And I was like, okay, well, there was actually some stuff that was happening behind the scenes that we are just learning about now that they
Mm-hmm.
didn't treat the actors very well. And I
Mm-hmm.
left it at that because it's really hard to
Yeah.
have a conversation with a 10-year-old because she doesn't need to
Totally.
know anything else further because she's not old enough to comprehend.
No.
So I am leaving that alone because I don't want to overcomplicate it. But I know that one of the girls off of iCarly had launched a book a little while ago and
Yeah.
kind of released a couple of things on that
Mm-hmm.
before actually Quite on Set was out, which I think is really infuriating because I think a lot has happened and nobody's fucking listening. And then it's stuff like this that's created by the industry that has put these people through it,
Mm-hmm.
and then they're like, oh, now you're going to listen. And that's the
Yes.
part that drove me nuts because I still watched it. I still wanted to take
Totally.
it in to like get that information and be like
Yeah.
the validation. But then you look like Amanda Bynes has been trying to speak out on X, or the old Twitter,
Yeah.
for years.
Yeah.
This is not new information. We didn't want to
No.
fucking listen,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
So yeah, and then it takes like a documentary to come out on it, and then it's like, oh, okay, then I'm like,
Cool.
oh, when's the Disney one coming out? Because like we've heard shit, we've
Totally.
we known shit this
We
entire
know.
time, guys, come on.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
we're just oblivious because we don't want to have that, because if we don't have it, we don't have our vices, we don't have
We
our
don't have
things
the
that are going to,
entertainment.
we don't have the entertainment, we don't have that things
Mm-hmm.
that we can disassociate with the world around us. And I even
Exactly.
like when they were talking about I know I see Warner Brothers. I think he maybe posted it about the Warner Brothers thing yesterday. Was that you? I don't know. Maybe.
Maybe.
Mm, I have a
Bring me
couple of
back.
good friends who are keeping me up to date on the things, and you're one of them.
Oh,
And
merci.
and I have a friend back in Nova Scotia who's sharing a lot of stuff, and
Mm.
it's super eye opening because remember when there was like that actors writers strike that was a couple
Yeah.
of years ago, or like last year or whatever. Hang on, let me see if I can pull it up now because now I'm like, where did I even get this information? Um, it was like one of the most recent things about Warner Brothers, and I was like,
Mm.
oh, like that checks out, like that's pretty crazy. Um,
Pretty on brand.
Right, yeah. Um, of course, I'm not gonna be able to find it that quickly now.
No, that's okay.
Um, na 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 na.
But
But
yeah,
there was,
you're
yeah, there
you're
was like a
you're
lot
a
of
good
people who were
point.
not getting paid.
Yeah, and it's insane. Like even if you look at, let's say, the Vlog Squad, I'm not huge too into that kind of stuff, but you hear about like David Dobrik and all those guys that are on there. That he's millions, making millions of dollars, and his name will still go on because he was the branding of it. And most of them that used to work for him are struggling. There's a one guy that just goes on TikTok all day and tries to make money from like lives and just like it's essentially like electronic panhandling where you're just like
Mm,
being like
ugh.
entertainment so that people throw money at you. Yeah, it's so wild. And it's like, we see this all the time of adults being abused. Why do we think it's a good idea? Yeah, it's cute to have kids, and I get it. And I'm not saying that kids that are talented shouldn't be put into entertainment. I just think that there has to be checks and balances. Like, you have to have both
100%.
parents present. You have to have a therapist. You have to have, like, a nutritionist, like, people that are going to take care of them and make sure that, like, I feel like it's like fucking 70% of them get messed up. Like, I feel like it's like maybe
Yeah,
30 to 35 come out like good or like go through their shit and then come out, but I feel like 70% just
yeah, that's a fair assumption because
fucked.
I feel like that probably checks out because like you look and like like even Drake was saying that he had like DUIs and drinking and driving, and some of them come out with addictions and stuff because they
Mm-hmm.
have all this trauma with no support to be able to speak about it.
Yeah.
So
Or
it's
they
like
re-abuse.
very, Yeah, and they are also working hours that like an adult human shouldn't be working, like late
Totally.
nights, early mornings, you know, 12-hour days. And man,
Hmm.
I don't know about you, but I am exhausted after an 8-hour day. I like to
Fucking
sleep.
free.
So, and I'm in my fucking 30s. So like, come
Yeah.
on. Like that doesn't seem real. So okay, so I found the thing and it says Warner
Perfect.
Brothers Discovery CEO David Savlak
Hmm.
2023 compensation rises by 23.5% to nearly $50 million. So that was his paycheck from 2023.
I feel like that's a
That was
lot of
his
fucking
package
money.
worth. And it really makes you wonder, like, of course, like that makes sense as to why they cut everything else. So this one guy can make all this fucking money. Also, I feel like in a way, AI is very much trying to take over. Plus, I don't know about you, but have you seen like a gazillion fake, like clickbaity like trailers for movies that don't exist and are not coming out because I have
No.
fell down that rabbit hole. Dude, they're not making another Harry Potter movie, okay?
Oh
Chill out. They're
no.
not doing it because, the actors and stuff had it out with J.K. Rowling about the comments that she said about trans people, and they're not gonna make another one. Stop it. Stop
Or
trying
like
to,
Friends.
reel us in. Like, come on. It's not happening.
Or what's
And
the
it
other one that
sucks
they always
because it looks
say?
so good and you're like, fuck.
Like Hocus Pocus 2. Hasn't that been something that people have said for like, I swear to God, every year around Halloween it comes out that they're making another one. Have they? I don't know. I just
That
swear
it
that.
came out
Did it?
the
Okay.
second one came out and Beetlejuice
Okay.
the second is actually coming out,
That.
but
Okay,
it's like
good.
one of those things like
Because
you have to go down this rabbit hole to like fact check it all.
that's sad. And
It
honestly,
really is.
I hate all of AI. And the only thing I kind of like is like, the only thing I will feel like I kind of like is perhaps maybe we could have less gross human beings and fake human beings, but I just rather watch real people, though. You know what I mean? Like, let's just put in laws that
Yeah,
protect these kids, like across the board.
for
And I think
real.
it's just gonna get worse. And I'm just glad that people are talking about it more and more now. And I know that that empowers victims, and even if they don't want to share their story out loud and publicly, maybe even just internal, like
Mhm.
remove from this. But I also want people to see, like, again, back to your point, we are funneling these people's money to continue in entertainment. This is why I said with
Mhm.
TLC, I started to have kind of like I got really addicted to watching Intervention because
Yes.
as a past addict, like there's parts of me that were watching because I wanted to feel good about my own journey and where I became. Parts of me wanted to see them like um get better because I have addicts in my family that I want to see get better. And,
Yes,
so
that
a
hope.
lot of it, yeah. But then at the same time, I'm like, is this exploiting them? And I'm not saying every single one is, but you can look at a lot of these shows now, like Honey Boo Boo, for example, is one of those
Mhm.
ones. Like, you could look at, back to your point, JoJo Siwa, like, she was in Dance Moms, and then she tried to have her own OMG pop group and ended up treating
Mm.
them just as bad as she got treated by that fucking crazy lady. So it's like, it makes me so entirely sad. And then too, if you think about shows like that House Swap or the makeover one with Ty, whatever. Remember that show?
Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. The house makeover one.
Yeah,
Good
right?
morning, so and so family.
Yes, exactly.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Million
remember that. I
Dollar
used to
Makeover, whatever.
something like that, and they would come in and like take over your house, and it's like, oh, you like
Yeah.
dinosaurs? Oh, your whole room is now a dinosaur theme.
Yes. So
It seemed
cool.
like a little intense and a little
Yep.
aggressive.
Yep. So if you go and read that, like, some people, it was fine, but a lot of people couldn't keep up with the mortgage. They had all
Mhm.
these things that they couldn't pay for. They didn't take care of the house because they weren't in that means to have those kind of houses and those things. Some people even fucking lied and adopted kids just to get this and then kicked them out after.
Shut
Yeah.
up!
Yeah.
No!
Yeah.
Holy shit! This is
Ex-
wild.
right? And so
Life is wild.
this is where it's like I get entertainment and I am guilty of it as well. Like, don't think I don't fucking watch, or I haven't watched Dr. Phil, or when I was younger watching all those things. Like, I was right in there, fucking Jerry Springer,
Maury,
let's go,
Maury,
Maury.
Jerry,
But
Jerry.
then
Yeah.
if you sit back and now you hear all these things, it's like, I don't know, consenting adults, maybe not such a problem. But kids, I don't know. And this is like I talked about in the last episode, even before this, Ruby Frankie and Eight Passengers as a YouTube vlogger, a family vlogger that was abusing her kids. And like I
Oh
actually
my
had
God, yes. Ugh.
I I had a whole different episode, actually a topic I wanted to tell you and bring here. But it got so fucking intense that I ended up spending like 6 hours researching this one topic, and I was like, I can't fit this in 20 minutes. It was about Chad Daybell and Lori Vallows. They're just like killed their kids. They thought they were prophets, like tons of culty type stuff. And there's a Netflix series about it. It's like The Sins of Our Mom or something like that. Anyways, I ended up falling down, and I was like, this is insanity. So then I switched to Honey Boo Boo because I was like, this is a lot
You
lighter than what I just went down because I
you
don't
should just
know
have
I could relive that again.
you, you should just have a season full of cults. You
I
should just do a
literally think I
season based
could.
on cults. I think you could because I think there was one not long ago that was traveling all over like the western area here in like
Hmm,
Alberta, Saskatchewan, da 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 da
wouldn't
da.
surprise me.
And they're like it's like a traveling cult.
Hmm.
And I think that you can like segue that into some really
Oh,
interesting culty shit. I think
oh,
you
and
absolutely
there's
could.
oh,
Yeah.
totally. And there's like high level, low level. Like I'll always say, like MLMs are a part, like use cult like behaviors, and that's how people
Yeah.
act in them. Like anybody, and there's like political cults. They're all over the
And like
place. But this one got deep.
structured religion. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, 100%. And
I
especially
was
when
like,
it's like
oh,
involving like
oh,
yeah, and it's like and then you have to like reel yourself back in and be like the other thing is too when you're watching this entertainment, like what's real, what's not, what's having to differentiate that because I know I have an addictive personality, so when I watch I
mm-hmm.
absorb. And I my kids are really into WWE now. And I
I
mean
love
so was
it.
I back in the day, right? So I said to
Yeah.
Sean, I was like, honey, like we have to have this conversation with our girls
Hmm.
that like they know that this isn't real
Yeah.
and that because this is why we don't have a trampoline because they'd be doing freaking you know
Drops on each other.
yeah freaking elbows and freaking pulling hair on the back trampoline
Yeah, I love
and he's
that.
like oh no it'll be fine like that was my childhood blah blah blah. I said but no like I also want them to understand like this is
Hmm.
in a way acting, yes, some of the stuff and they actually get hurt, but this isn't UFC stuff, this isn't stuff that
Hmm.
would fly with your actually like structured fighting. Plus both of my girls
Yeah.
are in kickboxing and MMA, so it's like one of
Yes.
those things like no you can't do that,
No.
this is just to get a rise
Entertaining
out of
fightment.
people. This is
Yeah.
entertaining. And like
Yeah.
Xavier's like, we need to go to Montreal. I want to see the man. She's really into it. And I'm not
I
gonna
love
take her
that.
from it because she thinks
No.
it's really cool. But I also want
Totally.
to be like, hey girl, just so you know, hair pulling in the real world is gonna get you in
Clocked
some real
out.
shit. Like, don't do
Yeah.
that, please. And I tried to
Yeah.
have this conversation with one of Sean's mom's friends yesterday, and he's like, "What do you mean wrestling's real? Have you ever been in a real girl fight, pulling hair and blah blah blah?" And I was like, "I am not teaching my kids that that is okay.
No.
That is not okay.
Whether
That is
it
not
happens or
okay.
not. Yeah. Like
It
whether
doesn't
we go
matter. It
through
doesn't
it.
matter." But
No.
that's not like something that is, we're not dragging people by their hair. That's not happening.
Totally.
So, anyways, I had to have
Yes.
that conversation because entertainment is one of those like, you
Fine
know,
lines.
yeah, it is a fine line, but I also was
Yeah.
like, I thought it was real my entire life until I was like in my 20s, and I was like, oh shit, like I think it was like when Ronda Rousey went back,
Oh yeah,
and
okay,
like
yeah.
when I learned about Dwayne Johnson, and that's where he kind of came of, right? And then I
Yeah.
was like,
Oh
when
yeah.
when
The
the
Rock.
UFC first started,
Hmm.
basically, is when I found out that WWE wasn't real.
Not
So
real.
I'm
Oh
like, I
no.
can't. I was like,
Shattered.
I need to share this, shattered dreams.
Shattered. It was fake. It was false advertisement this whole time. I was obsessed with Stone Cold Steve Austin. That was my
Yeah,
favorite. He was the best. There was no fucking around with him. Like The Rock was good, but
right?
I was always like Stone
Yeah.
Cold. Like he got that face, and I'm glad that And I do agree. Like we have to have entertainment, and I don't think that kids shouldn't be a part of it. I just think that we really need to sacrifice and making sure that they're being supported. And I think these parents
Mhm.
do, and then that's why they think they deserve all their money, which I agree. If you
Yeah.
are giving up your life and you are going to be the manager, for sure. But let's think, if you support that child through the rest of their life, like they will support you too. And these are like Mama June allegedly sniffed this all up her nose and like would pay for boyfriends, and like she's
Ugh.
gone to rehab, and like she bought their house and like all of their things, and she says taxes took most of it. So I think that these things should happen. I think they could be really great. I mean, there's
Yeah.
amazing talent at young ages. I'm not saying that. I'm just saying, again, like I've said for the last 3 fucking episodes of this series, there needs to be more for kids. But let's segue into what you got, because that's kind of
Oh,
my wrap up of child stars.
okay.
I'm sorry I keep talking about it, but I'm not, because every single
But
time I
we're
go to
not sorry.
research, there's
You got
something new
new
about another
stuff.
kid. Yeah, there's
It's
another
all
kid being
resurfacing,
abused.
right?
I fucking
And I
hate
feel
it.
like that is like one of the things with Quiet on Set. It's kind of like open the door because you're also like expecting anybody who's worked with Nickelodeon to speak up, right? So I think we're
Yeah.
like all like anticipating those conversations, but
Yeah.
sometimes we might not even get those. I would love to hear about Amanda Bynes right now, but I don't know where she's at.
Totally.
Nobody really knows
Yeah.
where she's at. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't
Yeah.
think we'll get that, and we won't get that
No.
closure. But to segue, okay, so I love myself
Me too.
music. We're
Just
gonna
kidding.
we're gonna we're gonna like list off the things that I found on the internet recently that I thought were like, huh, but like also cool.
Yes.
So like
Cool.
I know I love my man 50 Cent. So I have seen
Yes.
an interview with him, and I think it was I can't remember who it was with, but it was like that older English guy, and he was sitting with a bunch of different people, and they were all kind of seeming older. Oh my fuck, I don't remember the name. But either way, he was talking about how he
Mm,
got shot, and
mm.
there's a piece actually of bullet in his tongue, and like the older lady next to him was like, "What? Like, how does that work?" And he's like, "Well, it's great for oral sex." And she's like, "Wait, what?" And like her face was like, "What?" She's like, "Can I touch it?" So like he
Oh,
got like they got him and her napkin so she could like touch the fractured piece of bullet in his mouth and his tongue. And I just thought it was the funniest shit. I had to share it with somebody because I was like, "What the actual fuck?"
that
But
is
I was like,
so random. That is
"The random
crazy.
shit."
Is that
But
why he
I
calls
also love
himself 50 Cent? Is that like how much it's worth? A bullet piece in his mouth, maybe? Like,
well, he had his name before he was shot, I'm pretty sure. So I don't
fair, fair, fair.
yeah, I don't know,
But
but
it
I
just
thought it was
reiterates
funny.
it.
And he's just the way that he said it, it was like, "Oh yeah, the girls tell me it's great for oral sex." And I was just like, I wasn't expecting that. That was like, whoo, whoo, he's got
He
no
has
filter. But like he
actually
also
been so funny lately with all the P.
so
Diddy
funny.
stuff. Like, he has
Oh
just been, like,
shit.
calling shit out left, right, and center. And honestly, I feel like if you were anybody that was abused by these people and you spoke out and you got canceled
Yeah.
because you were too early, I feel like some of them right now are like, motherfuckers, I told you.
Like
Like, you don't
boom,
want to
right?
be,
Yeah,
yeah, like, you don't want to
100%. Like
be,
waiting for it.
yeah, like Cat Williams must just be like, because he was really, I think, the beginning of everyone really understanding that like shit is coming
Mhm.
out this year and he's
Yep.
not joking, and it did. And I bet, like, and he's just a brilliant man, right? So all this stuff coming out, and then like I said, some of these guys like 50 that have been, saying stuff around stuff like Terry Crews has been saying stuff over the years and nobody wants to listen,
Yep.
and or they
Yep.
disappear. Like, I mean, I really truly would like to know now where the conversation is going to go about Tupac, because I've
Oh my god, I
heard.
was just about to go there. Shut
Sorry.
up.
Okay.
Keep
Okay.
going.
Go.
Don't
Okay.
shut up.
Oh.
Keep going.
Okay.
No, no, no. You I was like literally thinking I was like, "Oh my god, I want Tupac to still be alive." Keep continue.
Well,
Tell
it's
me.
just
Go, go, go.
because it sounds like he kind of caught on to, like, and I'm not saying this doesn't matter if you're gay or not, but just caught on to a lot of the gay lies that were happening, like, let's say, in the rap
Mm.
community and all that stuff.
Mhm.
And like, if you think he was with Jada, and then Jada went with Will, and then apparently Will
Mhm.
is kind of like, and so it's like, did something happen that way? Did they get rid of him to protect that, like, was he getting too close to exposing, like, Puff Daddy and all those kind of things? Like, because he really wasn't for that kind of
Mhm.
stuff. To me, it just opens up a whole other conversation now. And was Biggie a part of that as well, like exposing that? And were they two figuring it out on opposite ends and trying to come together with, like Michael Jackson and all the people that
Mhm.
were
Mhm.
called out to be the abusers, were actually coming together to protect them, like the
Yes.
Chester Bedingfield and all those guys. Bedingfield,
I was
am I
just
saying
about to
that
go
right?
there with Chester too.
Yeah,
That was
right. So,
yeah,
like,
I
these
knew
are
this was
things.
gonna end up being tying in together. So good.
But you know what I mean? Like,
Shit, just
those
had to
things.
end.
Yeah, like, well, connected, we're one, right? So
Yeah, yeah, we are.
I just thought that was kind of interesting. As new things come out like this, old things start ruffling
A
up, and they're like,
resurfacing.
well, now you start to hear more and more where there's like a bodyguard that worked with Tupac is saying, or Puff Daddy is saying, oh yeah, I remember, and like, oh, Jennifer Lopez was hiding her gun for Puff Daddy, and some, so she had a gun, Puff Daddy shot a lady,
What?
and they got away with it because they couldn't prove that was true. And the lady's like, my face is all fucked up, and nothing, because they've, and so
Oh,
like,
what
and
the
J
shit?
Lo's attached to that, right? So like, did he go back, because like J Lo was dating Puff Daddy, and then it's like, okay, well, what did Ja Rule have to
Yeah.
do with it? Because J Lo and Ja Rule together, and you're just like, wow, there's so much drama in the internet.
Right,
remember,
for real though.
remember we just
Like
used
a
to watch VHSs of music videos, because like,
oh my God, yeah, or like MTV. That would just be my
I miss
updates or like
it.
much music. But
And
like
the socks.
it's Right? Okay, so like I also seen that meme. I think I had to share it because it was the
Mm.
funniest shit. But you know how like how Kesha was saying waking up like
Oh
P
yeah.
Diddy, and then at the end of it there was like the inside of people like busting into a house. I was like, oh shit! So it was really funny. I thought that that was the funniest shit ever. If I ever see it again, I'll have to resend it to you because I was like, oh shit.
That's
Because
so
I
good.
feel like we've kind of talked about like the Holly weird stuff before and how
Totally.
like Nicki Minaj was sexualizing Justin Bieber when he was like underage, and Justin
Hmm.
Bieber is like, well, there's that theory that uh, Justin and Selena had a baby, but they were like
Hmm.
wanting to sacrifice it, or somebody
Hmm.
was wanting to sacrifice it to like a blood
Fame.
sacrifice, and they had an abortion or whatever. And I'm just like, what the fuck is happening? And then I fell down the hole of Demi Lovato's her documentary, and that was a whole roller coaster of emotions. And I'm just going to leave it at that because I can't get into it without getting like riled. And
Yep.
then, yeah, Tupac, I'm like, I really want
Hmm.
that to be like, it's not on my 2024 bingo card, but again, never
I'll
was
take
that
it.
ever going to be a thing for Pitbull and Dolly Parton to have, or for Pitbull to have anything about
Any country
Jimmy Buffett.
songs? Yeah.
Jimmy Buffett or country songs
I
with like
love
country
it.
singers, like oh my god, I love myself some Pitbull, and I've
I
always loved
know.
Pitbull, and
He's the
everybody used to make
best.
fun of me for it because they were like, Holly, you're like, are you just like
I
this
fuck
little
him.
teen and that never grew up?
Mhm.
And I was like, no, but like I got to see him in Vegas,
Mm.
and he had made a comment, and he came in with this like inspirational quote thing, and I was like, oh, like this could be cheesy. I don't really know like what's gonna happen, and he like fucking killed it, man. I give the man props. I give him
His
mad props.
energy is
His
just
energy
fire.
is like intoxicating,
It
and he
is.
knows how to sell his music because it's boppy, but at the same time there's some stuff in there that we're not actually talking about, like his song Fear. He was
Mm.
talking about COVID, man. I don't know
Mm.
if anybody else caught on, but he was talking about how like you can face everything and rise, or you know fear everything and run. And
Hmm.
come on, man, like he's just killing it
Smart.
anyway. So I
Yeah.
really love
He's
him,
really, really
and his
smart. And he knows a lot about
yeah,
corruption and stuff, right? Like he's called
right,
the corrupt governments out because he came from corruption, right? So he sees it.
yeah,
And so, yeah, you can see him as like, oh, a dale dale, whatever, like, Zumba guy.
dale,
But yeah, at the
yeah,
same time, he's fucking brilliant. He knows how to market. He has been in this
yeah,
game for so long and still
yeah,
making music. And the fact that he has a Pitbull country fusion and it is
right.
fire, like,
What? Like
I
who would have
love
thunk
it.
that? Like
Yeah,
it's
I'm
wild to me.
obsessed. Yeah, I think there
Yeah,
was
I
also
love him.
A T Pain one, and it was like, I like it, I love it, I want some more of it. But it was like,
Flo
it was
Rida.
T Pain. Yeah, Flow Rider,
It
that's
was
what it
Flo
was.
Rida. Yeah,
That's what
yeah,
it is.
yeah,
And I was like, why
yeah.
is this something that I
Why
didn't
is it
know I
so
needed,
good?
but now I need to have this for the rest of my life? And yeah, but it's
Yeah,
kind of interesting to see too, like, I always wonder, and I don't know, let me get your thoughts on this. You know how there's like child actors and they just like disappear, and then
yeah,
there's some that keep going, and they're quite messed up most of the time either way. Do you
yeah.
think that it's kind of like there's a moment where they have to like go from being abused to then being the abuser to continue carrying on, and maybe that's why some of them just
Mm.
one hit wonders, they're because they're like, I'm not ready to do this, and they're like, okay, well, you're done. And or do they get some of
Ooh.
those people in, like Epstein did, in the situations where they maybe didn't have a choice, they're all fucked up on drugs, they, persuaded them to do something, now they've got the evidence, and now they have them forever, and they don't really have a choice because they made one dumb mistake or something that really matters to them, whether that's outing them for being, different, attracted to different people, or for a drug addiction, or you know what I mean. That's where my
Yeah,
head
I think
goes.
a lot of them, I feel like a lot of them almost aged out where they could
Hmm.
only, like with that industry of being with a child, like being a child star, once you
Hmm.
hit a certain age, you're too old to be really in the child show. So I
And
feel like when they
manipulating
hit
too.
that, and it's almost like a midlife crisis for their career,
Hmm.
because like if they can't do this, and if they're not taken in for any other movies, so then what now? So I
Yeah.
feel like the music industry kind of comes into play there because they
Hmm.
already have this hype of this person who's been in the show. A lot of the shows are music based. If you think of
Hmm.
like, um, you know, there's a couple, I don't remember the names of them right now, but
High
they had
School
like dancing
Musical
or
or
singing or
whatever.
whatever. Yeah, yeah, like
Yeah.
that kind of shit. So it
Glee.
kind of like gives you, yeah, like it kind of like brings you in to the music industry a little bit anyway. But yeah, I feel like some of the trauma is like one way to be able to express it.
Mm-hmm.
I know like
Totally.
that like music is a form of art, but I feel like sometimes like Hannah Montana was music. There, that
Hmm.
was what I was looking for. Hannah Montana was music this whole time, right? And then she
Yeah.
comes out and there's Miley Cyrus, and then she's also like on Oh my God, that show, that really fucked up one that has like multiple episodes, and why can't I remember it? My brain just spaced. It's fucked,
That's all
but
that matters.
oh, Black Mirror. She was in an episode
Oh
of Black
yeah.
Mirror.
Okay, yeah.
And like if you go look up her music that she was singing on there, she actually her name on like Spotify or anything is
Hmm.
like Ashley O from the show instead of
Hmm.
Miley Cyrus, which I thought was
Yeah,
pretty cool. But
that's cool.
I feel like there is that little bit of segue that
Hmm.
you kind of age out, now you don't know what to do, and I feel like sometimes they are forced into it by managers now,
Hmm.
or like persuaded, and
Hmm.
it's not really their jam, and then they're like, okay, well, now what? And then I feel like that was kind of like with Hillary Duff, like
Yeah,
she's around, she had babies, she did her thing, but I
yeah.
feel like that is kind of like where she was at. She only had like a couple of songs because that was still her demographic of people, were
Hmm.
still like the teeny boppers, right? So
Yes,
there's like
yeah.
that hard transition between, I think Miley killed it. I don't know how she did it, but I think it's the whole time she's at Ben Hannah Montana, and then she grew
Yeah,
up, right? So we got to
yeah,
watch her grow up as the singer this whole time.
yeah.
Whereas some of them, you see them as actors and they turn around, like JoJo Siwa. I'm probably
Hmm.
not in the age group that would really see her as anything other than who she is now. I seen her with dancing stuff, but I never watched that
Yeah.
shit. It wasn't something
No.
that got my
No
attention, right?
mercy. Yeah.
So,
Mm-mm.
yeah, no
Toddlers,
mercy, no thank
Tiaras,
you, pass.
no.
No thanks. So I feel like, yeah, maybe. I feel like,
Hmm.
yeah, that was their way of like voicing, because I feel like Justin Bieber, he was able to like
Hmm.
voice his stuff out in his music, like in his subliminal
Yeah.
messaging, and people don't
And
want to look,
yummy.
and that's okay.
Mm-mm.
But you can see it if you're looking for it. He's exposing a lot of stuff, and I feel like if something was to happen to him this year, we would be really fucking pissed, because we would know,
Hmm.
because there's like all these pieces. He remade that song that he had done with P Diddy. Hey, he relaunched it.
Did
I can't
he?
find it anywhere on the internet now.
Uh-huh.
I looked for it, I can't find it, but I seen it that
Yeah.
one time and I was like, oh, that's really freaking cool, and I was telling
Yeah.
somebody about it, and I tried to like find it and I can't find it. So we love that. Then I felt like I was a crazy person. I was like, did this actually happen or did I dream it?
Yeah.
But then
But
like,
though,
yeah.
if you watch his music videos, like his
Oh
song
yeah.
Yummy is obviously like
Yeah.
very much calling out like child exploitation.
Yeah.
And then there's
100%.
is it What Do You Not What Do You Mean? It was a remix with, I want to say, Skrillex or Diplo, something like that, and it's like all these different images, and if you actually
Oh yeah, yeah. I
slow
remember
it
we talked
down,
about that a couple of years back.
yeah, yeah, it's
Yeah, yeah.
really fucking insane when you actually, and then too, if you watch artists like Tom McDonald and anyone's like that are just all completely independent, like it's crazy to see what they can do. And I almost feel better watching the independents because I know I'm not being
Mhm.
programmed to believe something that is truly just their
Mhm.
message that they believe in, not what's popular, not what's trending. Well, sometimes I
Yep.
do think that that side definitely takes a hold of like the woke mob and the left for sure, but for the most part,
Yep.
like it's like that's how I don't mind the other opinions and opposing opinions if it's actually yours. It's when I sound and
Right.
I hear the regurgitation of a
Right.
celebrity or a politician, that's when I'm like, those words didn't come out your mouth. And then I try to ask you and you can't explain your point,
Mm.
then
Yep.
I don't really respect you. But even if I don't agree with you and you can explain your point, fucking okay, respect, cool. But
Yeah.
if you can't, then I'm like, that's not yours. And that's what I feel like media, movies, all that really do
Yeah.
like filter in those thoughts in our brain. And our brains, they're smart, but they're kind of dumb, and they can't really tell the difference between like I'm watching that horror and I'm living through that horror. Sometimes it doesn't know,
100%.
right? So it's like
Exactly.
really
Sometimes they
have to be
can't
careful.
differentiate.
No, and that's why
Yeah.
it's like I get metal music, but I also listened to metal music when I was
Yeah.
angry. And now that I'm not, I
Yeah.
actually like dance and country and like anything that I can sing because it brings me up. The metal doesn't, I don't resonate with it anymore. It's not because I'm like one of those
No.
people, but I'm
If
not
I'm
an angry
mad,
teenager. Yeah, if I'm
if I'm
mad,
mad,
but
like, well, I remember
I'm
having
not
this
mad
conversation
often.
with Sean, because I was like, I don't like, okay, unpopular opinion, I don't like
Mm.
corn. And it's not that I don't
I
like
don't
them, I
really
just don't
either.
vibe with them. I also don't like Beyonce. I think she's
I
trash.
fucking
I will
hate
say it. I am
Beyonce.
sorry, but I'm not sorry. Not my
And
jam.
Taylor
Also,
Swift.
okay, I have
It's fine, you could
like
be a
mixed
Swiftie.
feelings. I have some mixed feelings about Taylor. I don't like her.
Yeah,
There's some things that I like in the way of business. She's a
agreed.
businesswoman. She can
Yep,
absolutely sell her music. I like
yep,
that she profited, like she turned her pain into fucking money. That's
totally.
cool.
Brilliant.
Um, she's not for me, and I'll leave
Mm-mm.
it at that.
Yeah, not my music.
Not my music. Nah. My
Yeah.
sister loves her. They've seen her in concert. You do you. I'm
Yeah.
gonna take my kids to rock and roll concerts. That's where we're
Yeah.
at.
Yeah. Yeah.
To get back into the Chester
Yeah.
conversation about Linkin Park,
Speaking of rock.
there's the rumors that they're bringing in a female vocalist now for them, adding to the group. I thought that was really fucking cool. I also thought to Sean, I was like, could you imagine being this person who has to come in and fill those
Mm,
shoes? Because I said, I don't know about you, but that was my age. Linkin Park got me through a lot of
mm.
shit. When I
Oh,
had found out
yes.
that Chester had passed, I lived through that denial. I am still in denial. I don't
I'm still in
believe
denial.
I feel like that was um
One of the
not
most
how it went
tragic
down.
things. Yeah. Yeah.
It
Everything's a
was not
lie.
how it went down.
Yeah.
Everything was a lie. Also, I meant to ask you because you do
Hmm.
the fitness thing. There's a bit of a sidebar,
Sometimes.
but like
Yeah.
not really. So like when you remember those drills that you like run to like line to line, and we call them
Hmm.
suicides. Are they called
Yes.
unalives now, or is that what that? So
Probably
sorry.
need to in school. They probably, actually, you know what?
Fuck.
They probably don't even make people run anymore. It's probably like, do you think you can run? Yeah, okay, that's good enough. Pass. Like,
Perfect. Like
don't do
that
it
thought
anymore.
came to me. That thought came to me the other day because we were talking about stuff like this. Because like
I
it,
hate
it
it so
came up,
much.
it came up as a meme on my Facebook, and it was like, don't commit suicide. You need
Mm,
to outlive your enemies. And somebody
mm.
said underneath it was like that was like creepily like motivating basically.
Yes. Yep,
And I was
yep.
like, holy shit. And then I fell down the rabbit hole. I've had this conversation with Sean lots, and I'm sure he's annoyed with me. But I feel like there's people who passed in the way that you would anticipate them passing that was almost too
Yes.
ironic and suspicious for me. So like we're
Yes.
talking like Taylor from Foo Fighters, I
Hmm.
was choked. His tox analogies came back. There's no cocaine in his system, and he was in fucking the place where all the cocaine is. Where was he? Fuck, what was
Columbia?
it? Yeah, thank you. I'm like, my words are hard today. But I was like, he was in fucking Colombia and there was no coke in his system, it was just a bunch of other things, and he was a recovered addict who had a family. And then
Hmm.
there was like, Chester, and I was like,
Hmm.
he had probably the amount of people that his music saved. I'm like, that
Unmeasurable.
doesn't feel right for me
Mm-mm.
because like I like that saved so many lives. Why would that
Hmm.
be your way? And
Hmm.
then Sean had made a comment after when we found out like they might be casting a girl for the main vocalist now, and he's like,
Yeah.
I wonder if she's gonna be able to like. Is she gonna cough blood after every performance like Chester did? I was like, I don't know. It's a hard shoes to fill,
It
right?
is very much
And then
so, yeah.
and then they've
Unless she's
casted
like
a
an
new
Amy
drummer.
Winehouse or something like that.
Yeah,
Like
I
an
don't.
Amy
Yeah,
Winehouse. It'll be interesting to see if that's
it
comes
would be
out.
interesting.
Yeah.
And then they've got a new drummer for Foo Fighters. So
Hmm.
that would be really interesting to see too. That was where I was kind of going with my music rant. And then
Yes, I love
yeah,
it.
I was just like, I don't know, there's just been some weird shit in the music industry in general. So
Totally.
yeah, I don't know, but I've always been that person. I don't like mainstream music.
Mm-mm.
Whatever's happening in the world of music right now, mumble rap is the stupidest shit I've ever heard in my fucking life. And I'm pretty sure that was you who shared that video the other day on your stories because I
Did.
was like, oh my God, like I want to pull,
I did.
I want to scream. And it was really funny. Zadie said to me, she said, Jack Harlow, that song,
Loving on Me. I
what's
like
the
that song.
change? Yeah,
Yeah,
okay, I like it.
I
I
love
like
that
it,
song.
okay?
I will give
Okay,
that one
I'm
credit.
not dissing, I'm not dissing the song.
Yeah.
But she came over and was like, "Hey mom, Christine said that you would like this song because it's like Eminem."
Not like Eminem. Not the
And
same.
I was like, what? And I listened to it. I was like, girlfriend, no, no. I was like, Eminem is a rap god. I had to
Yeah.
tell you, he's a rap god. And I was
Yeah.
like, he had somebody who dissed his. Well, I put it like somebody had dissed him,
Yeah.
and that person who dissed him ended up having to change genres. And Shaw
Yes.
was like, well, dissed his daughter, and I said, well, yeah, but I didn't want to get
But
too far
him.
into it. But he had to
Yeah.
switch. He had to switch. Like he had to switch genres altogether. He wasn't allowed back in the rap industry.
Not
So like
anymore.
you
Just
know,
saying.
like you just don't come at him, right? So we had
Travis
like funny
Scott is my
conversations.
beef. I fucking hate
That's
Travis
fair.
Scott.
That's
Sorry, I
fair.
don't hate you if you ever listen to this. Your music's just trash, dude. Like,
Trash. We don't hate you as a person. We don't
no,
know you well enough to hate you. We just don't like
no.
your music.
I
It's
mean,
trash.
you're fucking your whatever Astro World. Like that's a whole other conversation and conspiracy
Well,
with
like
spirituality. Like that whole thing was so. And you know what? I wasn't really like God devil. Like I wasn't really that person.
No,
Like I knew it and I grew up around
no,
it, but I didn't really like
yeah,
lean into it until I started getting into like Hollywood and now I'm like, okay, I can see a stark difference between like godlike and devil like.
yeah.
And that vibe at all of the symbolism, it was just too much.
Mm,
Even if you weren't a conspiracy theorist, you just looked at it and it just seemed dark. The vibe was dark. The music was dark. And I get so frustrated when people are like, oh, music has no effect. It
mm,
does.
100%.
Noise
It's
has changes you. Like, have you
there's
ever heard one of
there's
those alarms?
frequencies.
Yeah, have you ever heard one of those
Yeah,
alarms where they go off in different areas and you feel so fucking
yeah.
discombobulated? Like, don't tell me noise doesn't have effect. Thank you.
Well,
That
there's
point,
like there's
case
certain
point. Like,
right? Yeah, like there's some frequencies that are supposed to help you heal and like anxiety and stuff like that. And then
they're
there's like some
good.
stuff that you get into too that has like I when you said Travis Scott, I just thought of Kanye. And I
Mhm.
was like, how's Kanye doing these days? Because he thinks
Is he real?
he's
Is
up
he a
there. I don't
clone?
even fucking know.
I
We
don't
don't
know if he's
we're
real.
we're unsure. We're unsure.
We don't know.
But like I have no idea. But then I was like listening to some of like his older stuff and I was like, holy
Mhm.
fuck, like I listened to some trash. But then I think of like Doja Cat and like she's also like I am pro feminism, okay, to an extent,
Like
okay.
I'm not.
I
Just
also no, but like no,
I
okay. So
know.
I feel like
Yes.
my feminism is different than
Old
you
school
know
feminism, not new
yeah.
school.
My
Yeah.
mine's more like
Equality.
mine's more
True.
like equality, true, yeah. And I'm like, I also know I have a vagina. I
Hmm.
also know that I could use this as my power, and it is powerful. But I also realize that I don't want to exploit that to the world because it's my sacred power. So I have sometimes a hard time with some of that
Same.
music. Also, like WAP on the radio is just the wildest. And I think back, yeah, we listen to Salt and Pepper, no, or like so no short dick man, and like
Yeah.
Fantasy by Luda,
Yeah.
and like shit
Yeah.
like that too. But like I feel like the stuff that's coming out now is almost more aggressive than it was back
Hmm.
then. And I said to
Yes.
Sean, I was like, can we just like I was like, can I he made a comment. He's like, you know, like Sex by the Ocean isn't about like or sorry, Cake by
Cake
the
by the
Ocean isn't
ocean.
about
Yeah.
cake. And I
Yeah.
was like, but like, could it be? And I think we had
It
this
could
conversation
be.
before too. I was like, why can't it just be? I want cake by the ocean. I don't want sex. I mean, that's fine too, but I want the fucking cake. Like, why
Yeah.
can't we just like? Why does
Why
everything
can't I
have
have
to
a
be about
cupcake?
sex? Like,
Yeah.
why can't we just have like the nice things in life? Like, yeah, sex sells, and I feel like that's where everything is at
Yeah.
because it's
Hmm.
very much like. But like, you listen to old school Tupac, and he was telling you how things needed to change, and we are still years later not fucking listening to the man. Like
I
he was, you
know.
know, like you listen back and it's like all equality and rights and
Yeah.
you know your mama and like you know, I
Family.
mean, we talk about whoop whoop. This is out of the police is an often
Yeah.
one in our house,
Yeah.
but like you also look at how far we have come, but digressed at
Hmm.
the same time.
Hmm.
Like we
Yes.
hit as a human population, we're kind of trash, and I'm
A
not
little bit.
I, like as a whole, we're like
Yeah.
a little bit trash because we're
Yes.
so accepting of everything, but also offended by everything, but also still trying to control every aspect of everybody else's life when none of that actually matters to what we have going on in ours. So I just
Yes.
find it ironic, like that is, you know, T- Tupac was saying this back in the 90s, y'all, and nobody was fucking
Yes.
listening to him then.
I
And now
know.
everybody's like, oh, like everybody, you know, no, this has been around forever, guys. Just
Forever.
fucking do
Yes.
better. And instead of
Yes.
talking about your dicks and your fucking pussies. Like maybe we could like actually come together and talk about some real shit. I'm not over here
Please.
wanting to like and like as so young sexualizing our kids,
So
man.
young.
Like so young. I've got a 10-year-old and a 4-year-old who are singing this shit on the radio. They're singing "Water" by Tyla. It's a great song, but it's all about her getting all sexy. And I'm just like, oh my god, I can't. And I hear it, and I'm like, oh my god.
And
Yeah.
I just, it's such a good point. And I want to go back to how you said, and I agree. Yes, what we listened to was not great. But guess what? What do we all bitch about? That we felt over sexualized, that we have body dysmorphia. Like, this is what pisses
Mm.
me off so much that everyone's like, well, we lived through it and we are fine. Fam, I
Bitch, we're
listened to
not.
all y'all and y'all not saying that you're fine.
We're not
So you
okay.
can't have it both ways. You can't say like, "Oh, well we listened to worse." Okay, we should want to be doing better. We should want to be removing that because we've seen what the MTVs and the Playboys and the skinny Nikki Richie thing did to everybody. So, okay, same thing with fucking like this drives me nuts. Do your filters, fine. But don't
Mhm.
sit here and say that Photoshop and MTV and celebrities and Playboy fucked you up and then go around and turn and live your whole entire social media life in a fucking filter. You're doing the
Yeah,
same
girl.
damn thing, but you're doing it to everybody on a bigger platform. And that is my biggest fucking beef. Like, there's some people I see in real life that I'm like, that's who that is, does not look the same. And like, yeah,
If
okay, angle lighting, sure, but
yeah,
you shouldn't be unrecognizable to how you're showing up on social media if you are complaining that all that stuff gave you body dysmorphia, face dysmorphia, whatever morphia. You're
yeah,
contributing to the next generation's problem.
boom,
Just kidding.
for
But I
real.
do
Just
think like it's the next level, right? Because like we had the entertainment. We knew. We knew
mhm.
that like to a degree we knew and it still fucked us up. Kids
Yeah,
growing up on social media and TikTok, which will segue into my last topic here, is what really worries me of like the dysmorphia, like and using words like preventative Botox, preventative skincare, preventative aging. It's like all of that is being pushed so much and it's just so much consumerism. It makes me sick to my fucking stomach. And it's like oh, we just talked about this in another episode, and it was kind of like people say that, you know, and I've said this too, like, oh, I don't care about people collecting my data and all that. Actually, now I do because I feel like everywhere I
mhm,
turn around, I'm like, do I actually want that, or
mhm.
am I being sold that? And now I just like question, like, I wanted to go shopping this weekend, and now I'm like, every time I go to spend money, I'm like, I don't want to give in to the manipulation of wanting a new pair of shoes, you know, or whatever. It's
Yeah,
just
the
so
consumerism
frustrating.
side, it's gross.
Yeah,
But
I
like,
hate
but
it.
like we all fall victim to it too, though, because like
Yeah.
I can guarantee you, I have bought stuff off of Facebook ads. I have fallen
Ah,
victim to getting stuff off Facebook ads that weren't
same.
even real.
No.
Yeah, like
Yeah. It's
those
dangerous.
pheromone, those pheromone, fucking perfumes. Because I
Oh,
think there
okay.
was a brand that they had them out a long time ago. They've been around for ages, but this new company had them launched. And I was like, oh, let's try it.
Yeah.
It doesn't really do anything.
No.
And then I'm trying like an iron supplement. That's fair. I
Mm.
actually need an iron supplement, so like that's
Okay, good.
cool. But
Those
like
are
you
good.
look at those things of like, um, oh, I was like, do I want to go there? But I do. Um, there's like those ads. Okay, they compare Ozempic to like things like Ovaria, and like like it's like. Let me collect my thoughts here for 2 seconds because I'm like I want to go off here. But I think I shared that ad with you
Mm-hmm.
that one of the hair I don't represent this brand. I'm going to start with that because I don't want to represent this brand because on April Fools they had shared how Ozempic and their color line had this collaboration and your hair is going to look thinner and it was a false ad but the behind it just felt ewy. And I had
Mm-hmm.
to message a girlfriend. I was like, does that like ew to me? Because I'm like, you're like, there's people out there who actually genuinely need Ozempic for
Yeah.
diabetes. And now
Yep.
that they found out that diabetes, like that is also helps with weight loss, you
Mm-hmm.
can't get your hands on it very easily. My sister
Mm-mm.
joked to her pharmacist about wanting to get some for weight loss, and he's like, "You are not eligible." She's like, "Come on, let's go,"
Thank
like shit like that.
goodness. Yeah. Yeah.
Right? Because she's like, oh, like I
Yeah.
wish I could get my hands on it. I was like, dude, like I'm pretty sure this is like on
Totally.
the black market now. Like I'm pretty sure
Yeah.
like people are getting it to sell it because nobody can get their hands on it.
Yeah.
And then
It's
I
this
had
year's
seen too,
ivermectin.
right? And then and then I had seen, I think I shared this with you, that somebody had gotten pregnant because now they are using it. They're saying that what is happening is when you're ingesting the Ozempic, it is actually counteracting any of your contraceptives. So,
Mm-hmm.
also, if you're not an
Imagine.
eligible candidate for the weight loss stuff and you're taking it, say like mine and yourself for our weight,
Mm-hmm.
it's not going to work for us the same way that it would for somebody who actually needs it. So, like for
Mm-hmm.
myself, I'm not morbidly obese. I know this. I would consider myself curvy at best. I have a little bit extra weight on me. I know this, but I fucking love food
We
and I
need
have
it.
kids. So like, come at me,
Yeah.
and I'm cool with that because that's how I hibernate and it's protecting my inside organs. Okay,
We live in
so
Alberta.
right, exactly. I'm like a bear. Okay, I need
Yeah.
to hibernate.
You're not
So
bad, but we
no,
just
no, no, no.
people
I
we
just
need body fat, guys. We need body fat.
we
Like
do,
it's
we do.
clear. We like
Like this
you're
is real
sick.
life.
You're sick if you don't.
Especially
So.
exactly. So like, but the thing would be is if I was to take it, people
Mm-hmm.
who were my weight, they could actually get holes in their stomachs because it's not geared towards us, right? And then it's one of those
Mm-mm.
things, if you are ingesting it for so long and then you're just like off of it, kind of like a keto diet, you're gaining all that
Mm-hmm.
weight back, especially if you're using keto and it's not meant for you. Because like yeah, you can, or dirty keto, and there's some diet stuff there that
Mm-hmm.
I'm not going to go down that rabbit hole, but at the same time, there's a lot to it, right? Because like
Yep.
all those faddish diets, or how to lose weight, and I even like fell victim to one of those like weight loss things because it was supposed to help you detox, and
Mm.
I knew that my health last year declined. I actually had some accidents, and I don't know if I was remember telling you that, but I had
Mm.
some stuff digestively wrong with me. A
Mm.
lot of it was actually stress induced.
Ugh, of course.
Which is really funny because I can share that with everybody in the world and be like, hey, I know what's your triggers, but for myself, I had to do the inner work. So
Yeah.
I was trying to find it. I'm willing to admit I was trying to find an easy out, and I was like, oh,
Mm.
like this is something that could work for me, and I ordered it and I got it. Girl, I shit 7 times a day.
No wonder
Okay,
why you lost weight.
I lost the weight, but I was miserable and my poor butthole
Yeah.
was so sore. So
Oh, it's awful. Yeah.
and they had said like it's not something that's going to make you have loose stool, and it was like, oh, whatever, and it's just supposed to have binder in there, and I'm like,
Lie.
um, no, that feels like a lie. So every time I see that ad pop up, I'm like, no, like if you want to shit 700 times a day, like absolutely do this. Or like, and then
Totally.
I just stopped following them because I was like, I'm not putting my energy out there into the world like that anymore because this is ridiculous. But I
Yes.
have absolutely fallen victim to some of these Facebook ads,
Data
and
mines. Yep.
obviously they're working because
Yep.
people are buying shit, but I'm
They
also like,
are.
come on, guys. Like, we got to be
It's
smarter than this. A lot of this is
gross.
AI activated. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
this is like, I know Sean had ordered stuff for me for Christmas, and he was like a smoke a deal on Stanley cups, and they weren't even real. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
just like, okay, that was super jacked because I was supposed to get like 5 Stanley cups, and they never came. And then I ended up going and buying a Stanley because I was like, oh, like I need a Stanley now because it was in my head that I
Yep.
needed one. I don't
Yep.
fucking use the thing, but here we are
Nope.
because,
Got it though. I
got
got
it
it.
though, and I'm not
Yep.
chasing. I'm not. Yeah, I've got my big dumb cup, and I'm not chasing chicks down trying to get one in a certain color at the store.
That was
But
bad.
and I have mine covered in stickers, so I'm sure I'm pissing off the Stanley girls out there. But I just
Oh,
find it
whatever. But
so
it's so
crazy
true
the world
though.
we live
They
in for
target us.
consumerism. They really
Yes, and it's
do, and it
everywhere. And
works.
this it works. And that's why so this last kind of one that I want to kind of go over is not necessarily like targeting selling. This isn't really hurting anybody but herself. And I don't really want to come after this TikToker or anything like to her. I don't know if she's problematic one from before. I'm not sure. But this particular situation bothered me, and this is just where I want people to just like pay attention that you can develop parasocial relationships with people online and think you
Mm,
know them and you don't. So and that there's people out there that will quote unquote snark themselves. So just to be careful when people say that they have haters. I don't know if you see that sometimes, but some Instagram accounts I notice that are like continually posting, not all the time, and I do think it needs to get called out. But if you're continually calling them out, you're giving them power, right? So
mm-hmm.
I do know that it's good to go back and forth, but I do know that some influencers use that negative to stream more people to come to their pages. And this isn't the
100%.
first or the only. There's many influencers that have been called out about lying, about having cancer, about having,
Ew.
yeah, people pass away. There's been tons exposed. But this one in particular kind of had me giggling because, not giggling because it's not funny, but kind of because it's some stupid mistake that I would kind of do maybe and not think. And this is where sometimes you have to really check your understanding of things and if you're actually clever. So this one TikToker, Julia Ertz is her name. So she posted, I guess, one day, I think it was 2023, January 22nd, 2023. She posted about having a stroke, seizure, and potentially having a cancerous mass in her brain. So, like, scary, right? So
Yeah.
that's the scary thing to say. So then it goes on to go to a Reddit page. And I guess she had made this post on her like sandwich page saying that she hasn't posted a much. She's just eating the sandwich and she wanted to post because she potentially has brain cancer, da 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 da. Then there's a Reddit user by the name of Understanding Icing, whatever, posts to this snark page about this girl. The snark page is like just talking shit about people. Reddit is awesome and terrible at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
But screenshots a picture and goes brain cancer and shows this photo of the Instagram post. And then the user then comments that her ex-boyfriend will probably speak out against this because he uses her tragedies to victimize himself. So
Mm.
this random user is posting that she doesn't believe that this girl has brain cancer and that her ex-boyfriend is going to use this to essentially become a victim, right?
Mhm.
So time goes on a little bit and people are really smart, right? I'm not one of these people and I fucking love people like this. I'm just going to say. They quickly realized that the post contained the sandwich account profile picture and the options to view insight and boost post. So you know when you look at your Instagram, underneath every post it'll say boost post and view insights, and then at the corner you can see your own profile picture.
Mhm.
So this screenshot is coming from her own account because you can see the boost posts. So people are writing underneath like, hold on a second. You don't see these options unless it's from your own account. You don't go to another person's page, screenshot it, and see those boost options. You only see it when it's your own account. So then, so she catches on that people are catching on, and she posts to her Instagram story that someone is hacking her from Russia. Someone in Russia is hacking her. Romania, sorry, stand corrected. Romania. And she screenshots this. Well, the people go in again and they go, okay, hold on. Where it says pixel and all this stuff, like you can tell that it's like been photoshopped.
Yeah.
It's not cohesive. You can see that someone has put something over top of it. Then they go even deeper. And they find out that Pixel phones are not even supported in Romania. So how did that work? They're not even sold in that country. You go there, your shit doesn't work, okay? Then someone goes even deeper and they start looking at the timelines of when things were posted. And they're like, so did this hacker post this in the future? How does this happen? Romania, like, I don't want to go through all the math, but they're just basically saying, yeah, like,
Their time zone is way different. Yeah.
your time zone is way different. This isn't making sense. And she's, of course, posting that it's not it, da 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 da. So, okay, so now they've caught on that this user that's posting about her is probably her. So I guess what you can do is you could take that username and go search and see all of the stuff that you posted in the past. Well, sure enough, she had leaked her ex-boyfriend's nude. She had posted like all this stuff about him, like trying to like almost like get more drama and more views to their pages and like or to like talk shit about him and all this stuff. Like, oh girl, what are you doing? Like I don't know if she's been problematic outside this. I don't know anything about this person. I just thought, oh my god, like it's like almost when you first started like forging your parents' signatures at school or something. Like,
100%.
you know, and it
100%.
was just like, hey guys, if you're gonna lie on the internet, please be smart about it. Like, not don't lie,
Yeah,
but if
do
you're gonna
better.
do it, like there are people out there that spend their days looking at shit like this. And if you have a whole snark page about you and you're filtering stuff to it, you know that it's obviously working for something. Like, I don't know, man. If I had a snark page about myself, I'd be probably reevaluating what I was doing. And I don't know. I don't know. Like, I guess people, like I said, on Reddit, it's one of my favorite and worst places because you can find some really
Yep.
crazy Reddit threads, and then also you can find some crazy Reddit threads. But this is
Yep.
becoming an increasing trend of people lying online. So I just want people to be very aware that you can think you know someone in this parasocial relationship, even me. Like anybody, you can have listened to all of my 179 episodes. Maybe this is the 179 that you're watching today, and you still don't fucking know me, right? So just be careful. I just don't want people spending their money and sending it to these people that are fucking lying and doing crazy shit, like
Yeah.
even talking trash about themselves and then trying to like
Oh,
backtrack.
it's
I
so
bet you her
wild.
heart was fucking racing when people started calling her out about this, and like she just got worse and worse. Like, girl, just admit it and be like, okay, I just wanted to bring, like, I don't know. I guess it would be worse to be caught, like, I don't know, because then it's like you're caught about lying about cancer, and then you're caught about someone hacking you. Like, do you think maybe one lie would be better to come forward, but you just kept stacking them? And now it's like, how
Yep.
do you get out of this? How do you get
You
out of
don't.
that? You don't.
You don't.
So, like,
No.
just be careful of where you're sending your money to. And, like, and I'm not saying don't send people good vibes because I think that's always good. Like, you don't know. But when it comes to money or i.e. arguing with people about people you don't know on the internet, I think is such a waste of time because you actually don't. Like, unless that person sits on live 24 hours a day. Like, even let's say
Yep.
Eugenia, you know who Eugenia Cooney is, I'm assuming. Maybe not. So she
Maybe.
is a like old school YouTuber. She's like a Twitcher. She streams all the time. I think she games. She is probably one of the thinnest people out there, like very, 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 very thin.
Okay.
And people call her out. She's been called out several times. She's gone to rehab, all that. A lot of people are still not sure how she's still alive. But even her, like, it's clearly and apparent that she, in my opinion, allegedly, she doesn't eat much. But we don't see her 24 hours, even though she streams for a lot of it. She still could actually eat like 3 grapes in the background, and we don't see that. Like, even though you see something and you think, like, okay, yeah. I mean, the only one I would say is, like, I don't necessarily believe Tess Holiday had bulimia. I find that, like, what was it that she said? Anorexia, something like that. Like, there's
Hmm.
some things that I think, like, it's kind of obvious, someone's, like, obviously addicted and they're saying they're not. Like, but for the most part, we don't see everybody all the time. So, like, just lay on the caution side of sending your money to people and, like, standing support them when you don't know, because people do think, oh, someone would lie about that. She's lying about fucking having brain cancer. Like,
Yep.
and she's not the first. She's one of many. And unfortunately, all this stuff got glorified on TikTok and like mental health and all that kind of stuff. And so you just have to be very careful and understanding that social media is also a platform that they have actors on. It's just a different form of
100%.
Hollywood. Like, it's just
So,
another
so
form of Hollywood.
to like sidebar into that, do you
Yeah.
think that they are trying to cancel TikTok because it's the only form for us to get some news that is real? I was just had this thought too because
Yeah.
I was applying for a grant to better e-commerce my business basically,
Mm-hmm.
so the better online presence. And the guy he was talking to was like, how, what are you using for platforms? I said I was at one point using TikTok, but I know for myself I lose time.
Yeah.
I was one of those people, I would creep and watch, but I would like look down and look back up and I'd lose 2 hours, and I was like, I
Mm-hmm.
can't do that. I said
Mm-hmm.
at least with Instagram I can reel and get my info all in one place
Yeah.
versus TikTok. I felt like it wasn't serving me. But
Mm-hmm.
then I'd have people send me TikToks that you can't find everywhere else that was explaining like apparently Dubai is underwater. I didn't know this from the regular mainstream media.
Mm-hmm.
Dubai had crazy flash floods.
Mm-hmm. They
And it was
manipulate
sharing
their
like,
weather, so it's not surprising.
oh
They
yeah, that
do the
checks out. But
most
aren't they a
cloud
desert?
seeding.
Like,
No, they do the most
fuck
cloud seeding because of them being a
of
desert. They
their.
do the
Oh,
most
okay.
cloud seeding known in the world. Yeah, you could actually pay to make sure it
Holy
doesn't
shit.
rain over there. Yeah, that's why I
Oh,
kind of laugh
pay
when
to make
people.
sure it doesn't rain on your wedding day and shit. Like,
Yeah, yeah, and that's why I laugh when people say
holy
it's not
shit.
real. I was like, sure, but they actually do it in Dubai. So
Well,
what?
there's places in the States that do it too.
Yeah. Oh
This is
yeah,
not
but
new
it's just
information. It's
it's
out
not.
there.
Yeah.
It's out there if you want to find it. But that's the thing. Nobody's willing to look outside of their own little spaces because it's
Yeah. So
unsafe.
that's what
It
they're.
feels
Yeah.
uncertain, right?
Yeah, and that's
But
what they're saying is why it's happening to them right now, is because they've been fucking with it for a while. So it's like kind of like a little
oh,
bit
well,
of
then
a
that sounds like
karmic.
karma.
That's what it kind of
Sorry,
sounds
but
like. I don't
not.
know, but
Yeah.
yes, keep going. Yep. Sorry.
Oh, okay, so like but like I know like when the convoys and stuff were happening and
Mm-hmm.
you see something on like the news that was CBC or whatever and they're sharing
Mm-hmm.
old photos that weren't even actually there, and then you go on
Mm-hmm.
TikTok and you're seeing it from users who were actually physically there and they're sharing mainstreams
Yep.
of or like sharing like live streams of what's going on. Like I remember
Mm-hmm.
that being one of the really big fights with me and my dad during that time.
Mm-hmm.
Was like he was like, oh, like um one of the comments he had said that the people who run these events are all homophobic and racist. And I said, well, I don't believe so, but we also have that right of free will.
Mm-hmm.
So, of course, with big organizations, you're going to come across bigots and stuff like that because it is not just a small population of people who are
Mm-hmm.
coming up to fight against it. And he was like, oh, like if that's going to be the way that you want it, because like my sister is a lesbian and like
Mm-hmm.
stuff like that. He was like, oh, like your rights, blah, blah, blah. So I remember it being like a really hard conversation to be had. And he's like, oh, I'm
Mm-hmm.
surprised you're not there. And I said, I'll be honest, it would be a waste of my money to drive my little car across Ontario. I don't
Yeah.
work oil field, but I
No.
value people who do because I know
Mm-hmm.
that that is how my house came to be. That's how it's fueling my house to live. I
Mm-hmm.
see this side outside of things. I
Mm-hmm.
also understand that there also should probably be some limitations with our environment because
Yeah.
fracking's not good. But
No.
like there's like a
We're
happy
pretty
medium.
clean.
There's
Mm-hmm.
there's some shit. There's some shit
Yeah.
there, but there's always some shit with every industry, right?
There is.
So
Yeah.
like, oh my God, like it's just I don't know. I could go on for that one for a while, but like I was like I understand them voicing their opinion by doing that. Anyways, dad was like, oh blah 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 blah. CBC. He lived, ate, breathed. CBC. And I
Dangerous.
said, you know what? I feel like you can take what you want from any media source, but when you look at the clickbait of the title,
Hmm.
it's to it's to instill fear in you.
Hmm.
If you
Hmm.
can look at that and be like, "Holy shit, I want to read it," it's because they are baiting you. You
Hmm.
are being baited. They
Yeah.
want you to grab that information and be like, "Holy shit," and then you get into it and you're like, "Holy fuck, what did I just read? It had nothing to do with the title even."
Yes. Yeah.
Or like they like exaggerated, right?
Hmm.
So, and it's very when the media wants us to be scared. That's how
Hmm.
they thrive because they want to instill
Totally.
and
More
tame the
clicks.
chaos.
Yeah.
They want us to be able to be, docile and controlled. At the end of the day, they
Hmm.
want us to be able to be controlled. So,
Yes.
of course, they're going to share all the bad shit because they want us to be riled up, to be reminded that we can
Hmm.
be put in our places. Yes, we're in
Yes.
Canada. Yeah, apparently there's freedom of speech here,
Mm.
but you're seeing a lot of weird changes because our government is trash.
It
Um,
is.
yeah, and then I seen something the other day. I wasn't gonna go into the politics side, fuck me, but at the same time, it gets there
I pull
because,
it out
like,
of people.
but like I seen something the other day, somebody had shared that Trudeau wants to start prosecuting people who speak like from the Bible and stuff like that. And I was like, well, that's kind of interesting because you have people of all different religions here who aren't even from the country, and that's going to be where you start. He also said he wanted to have it so that people who are immigrating here cannot get a mortgage uh, like for 2 years. And then I was thinking, how many people my age are not able to afford a fucking mortgage at all in general to get one because our system is so screwed. So
Yeah.
there's just some
Two
pieces
years.
there that just felt gross. But like,
Yeah.
yeah, if you're coming in from anywhere else, you can just get a mortgage in 2 years, and you're just like, what
Yep.
the hell? Like, why aren't you taking care of us?
Yes.
Um,
Yes.
there's just some shit that is just our systems. I see this quote the other day. Our systems are not broken. Our systems are working how they want them to work.
Hmm.
They're not
Absolutely, they do.
broken.
They're
They
not
are
broken.
working the way that is against us because
Benefits
that's
them.
how they were put in place.
Yeah.
They're not for us. So
Mm-mm.
it's not that they're broken and they need fixing.
Mm-mm.
They need a full-on overhaul is what they actually need because they
Yes.
were not
Yes.
in they're not in it's not in for our favor at all.
No, no. So let's circle back to some of the things you said. So let's go back to what I found super interesting. The arguments that you would have with like your dad, because so many people had
Yep.
that the same thing that would be zoned into mainstream media, and then there's us watching through TikTok, IG lives, wherever, because Instagram wasn't as banned at least during the Freedom Convoy than it is, let's say now.
Yeah.
And I was feeling the same way. Like, okay, well, I'm white, so I must be a white supremacist because that's what I was told, and I'm
Mhm.
white and I'm not a person of color, so I must be racist. I'm also not gay, so I must be homophobic because that's what I'm being told.
Mhm.
And then, yes, I'm unvaccinated, but those were the only people in the fringe minority. And then
Mhm.
people like who's going to be on my next show after you is Paul, not yours, sorry, before yours. It's the episode before with Paul Minder. He was the first person that came out and was like, "Hey, Justin Trudeau," like kind of like in my life, and was like, "I'm not white and I'm for this." And then all of a sudden, I started seeing there was a guy named Mickey, and he was like huge in the LGBTQ community, and he was like very much flamboyant gay, and he was out there with all of them. He was on the front page of the paper, and he was like, "Again, I don't see any like gay haters here. Like I'm here." And then all of a
Mhm.
sudden all these vaccinated people started going, and I was like, okay, so here's three or four different titles that you have said these people group people are, and I'm seeing completely opposite with my eyes. And I think you have to
Yeah.
be like very looped in or in denial to see what you see with your own eyes but believe someone else's words over that, and the manipulation of still images versus the videos that you're seeing with the people that you actually know. And I think for me that was it, especially when they were like, oh, this boy died of COVID. It was like the family called and was like, it was in Alberta, and they're like, actually, he died of cancer. Please don't spread that that's what he had. But they use those
Mhm.
pictures, right? Like it's actually in law that they can just go ahead and lie on the news. It doesn't really matter. And this is where I laugh when
Mhm.
people are like, things don't happen. The government would tell us. No, they wouldn't. They don't tell us till
No,
like
they
five,
wouldn't.
10 years later. Like, fuck off. It
Dude,
is not true.
there's so many murders and crimes around our area that we don't even know about because more than
Yep.
half of them have been with homeless people and they just
Mm-hmm.
don't share that information. The
Exactly.
only reason why we have information about people who are missing is because that like locally Grand Prairie is pretty okay with sharing some stuff, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time there's a lot more going on than what we see. We see it's like an
Totally.
iceberg. We see the tip of an iceberg. Like you
Yep.
look at all those teenagers who've gone missing in like places like Dawson
Mm-hmm.
Creek. and they're all like,
Mm-hmm.
oh, like they're all tied in together. Some of them aren't. They don't even know each other. Some of
No.
them aren't. I mean, maybe they are tied together in the way that
Yep.
somebody's trying to traffic these young humans,
People. Yeah.
but in the same way, it's like mm, we are not getting all of the information, and I
Mm-hmm.
feel like some of it is because they want a way to protect us but also keep
Mm-hmm.
us like, suspended
Mm-hmm.
in like suspense of like what's going to happen next. Like if
Mm-hmm.
somebody's gone missing for so long, they're deemed gone, right?
Yeah.
So it's like one of those things for me. I'm like still waiting for that call at Tupac's somewhere in fucking Mexico.
Yes. Yes.
But like
It'll
shit you
happen one
not.
day.
And then I'm
Yep.
waiting too. Like I don't know when like Walt Disney's supposed to unfreeze, but I'm like waiting for that to be one of the things that comes up too soon. Because I was trying to
Yes.
explain this to Zadie and she's like, what? And I was like, oh yeah, he's like in a vault somewhere.
Yeah.
She's like, what? And I was like, yeah. So I'm like, okay, so it's gonna be like zombies. Got it. But like at the same
Pretty
time,
much.
there's like just that this is some shit there that is like really interesting to me because I at the time I was really pissed off with my dad. There was some stuff that was
Of
really said
course.
that was really hurtful, and I never did
Mm-hmm.
get an apology. But what I did was I sat with it and realized a lot of what he was said was from fear because
Mm-hmm.
he had no control. I lived across the country. He was genuinely worried for my well-being, and I
Yeah.
see that now and after the fact. It was a really hard argument. Um, and there was some really mean things said, but I know that it was from a place of
Mm-hmm.
fear
Care. Yeah.
and care. And
Yeah.
it was a hard thing to accept because I'm like, you know what, at the end of the day, sometimes these conversations can't be had unless the
Mm-hmm.
other person is willing to hear them. And
Yeah.
he was so stressed out where he was with his stuff. And Newfoundland was totally different. Like they shut the whole island down. You couldn't get in or out.
Yeah.
So like I I gave some grace. I sat with it and I'm okay now. But
Mm-hmm.
when it does come up, it's kind of a hard conversation now because he's no longer with us.
Of
That it's
course.
like, there was some stuff that was said, and I probably never went about it in a great way either. So,
Mm-hmm.
actually, I was kind of choked because me and him always talked on the phone, and that was our like last text conversation, and I had deleted all of our texts. So I had nothing
Mm-hmm.
like after he had passed, I had nothing that was
Yeah.
like we had a conversation. I I only heard his voice, and now I'm like afraid I'm gonna not be able to hear his voice anymore because
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what it sounds like, and like just
Yeah.
weird shit like that. So like grief
Yeah.
is fucked, but at the same
It
time, it's
is.
like being able to see it outside of for what it was,
Mm-hmm.
or how it came across to be, just shows me that I have experienced some intense growth in the past couple of years.
Yes. Oh my
Like
gosh.
we just buckled
Yes.
up because like I could have
Yep.
just buried my head in the sand and not taken
Mm-hmm.
anything in on like what was going on around me.
Mm-hmm.
Like a lot of us did. We just
Mm-hmm.
you just put your head in the sand and you just buckle up and
Work.
whatever.
Mm-hmm.
But I also put some boundaries in place of like, no, I'm not going to take in all of this information because that is how your nervous system gets overloaded. And that's how that
Yeah.
was actually
Burnout.
happening. And like,
Yeah.
and this is like, and like to go back to like how me and you were talking about earlier about how music has a big impact of our lives. And it's
Mm-hmm.
like, um, yeah, like, oh, we dealt with all these things and body dysmorphia and like, you know, um, eating disorders and stuff like that. But then you're like, when people are like, oh, you guys are all okay now. Girl, you haven't seen my therapy bills and the medications that I'm on. And
Yeah.
like there's some shit there. Is
Yeah.
because like back then we weren't able to safely express what we were
Mm-hmm.
talking about because there was no support. There
Mm-hmm.
was, and if there was, they, like quote unquote was, it wasn't like a safe support, like I would say
Mm-mm.
shit to my mom and she'd be like, oh, like she even to this day, she tells me that I'm delusional or like tells me to like just like shake it off, right? Or go get medicated, Holly, your brain needs it. But also when I told her my diagnosis, she's like, no, that's not real. So it's like, no, we're just out here, literally raw dog in life
As
or
a
us
floating
90s,
cucumber.
80s babies. We're just like fucking out here. We're like maybe I might identify as a celery stick now. I'm a
Yes.
little
Yeah. Just
spicy.
all little water. Yeah. And oh, you could be one in the margarita or
Or a
whatever.
raisin.
Caesars.
Oh, and a Caesar.
There you
Maybe.
go.
Yeah, a little spicy.
Little bean.
But
Little
yeah,
Caesar bean.
I but I find like it's interesting too on like the side of the mental health stuff. Like we don't
Totally.
have enough support,
Mm-mm.
and the support that we have is like not super great.
Trash at best.
Um, yeah, and I reached out a little while ago because where I do a whole lot of healing modalities and stuff, I was like trying to
Mm-hmm.
build this binder of support of like if people are coming to me for things that are not in my wheelhouse because I'm not a physician and I'm
Mm-hmm.
not a psychologist, and if they need help for things that I can't help with,
Mm-hmm.
who can I send them
Where
to?
can I send them? Yeah. You
Yeah,
betcha.
and then I have like it's going to be a big project because I'm still trying to find out. Like, I think there's going to be a lot of people like myself who are like in their homes and they're private based and they're not, socially on
Yeah.
media and stuff like that, right? So I
Yeah.
think I'm going to have to like dig deep because the government funding here, they just pulled funding. Our RCMP is being transitioned over because we're being ran by the Grand Prairie, by the city.
Cool,
Actually, but
cool.
it's provincial, so all the funding. So if we had somebody who, okay, for example, if there was somebody who had walked in on, their partner who had OD'd, there is no trauma response team here anymore, from my understanding. Or the team that is here is also conquering from here all the way up to Edson, up and around. So our district just went from county to Grand Prairie, like county and Grand Prairie, to like all of northern Alberta. So, um, what? Also, our police officers are not trained in trauma like that. So
Mm-mm.
they do not have that bedside manner to be able to hold space for us when we are dealing with
Going
these
through it.
incredibly terrible situations,
Yeah.
especially in the way of domestic violence has increased in
Mm.
our area because homelessness has increased in our area. So it's like, at what point do you call in the big boys and the cavalry and be like, yo, like we need more funding? They
Mm-hmm.
just I think it was yesterday I seen our Alberta government was looking for funding for um, family court. So they were looking for
Mm.
17 lawyers. They were ready to pull it in, and the federal government said no.
Of course they did.
They cut it,
Because they're
and I'm
too
like,
spending
but
money
like,
into Ukraine.
what the fuck? Like, what are you funneling everything else into, man? Like, where is our support for our people? Anyways, I wasn't trying to
It's
go all
not
dark and
there.
sad, but
No, it's good.
apparently we're just all out here raw dogging life. But
I just think it's what it's important, and it's a very cool transition, I think, because like I love talking about this online stuff because it takes me away a little bit from the realities of
mhm,
what's going on in real life. At the same time, I get mad about those things because I feel like too many people are involved in that too much, so they're not seeing stuff like this that is in their backyard, and then they, Canada's great. No, it has its things. It was good, and now it's steadily going down. And if we just continue to just immerse ourselves entirely in entertainment and Hollywood and sports and everything that's not within our home. And, I know politics and the news isn't fun, and I'm not saying necessarily watch government funded news, but learning stuff like you're talking about, like TikTok and like Instagram, and
yeah,
like, look for things yourself and talk to people. That's going to be your biggest way. I think is going to do better for our world and help with all the mental health illnesses. But I think because everyone wraps themselves up in everybody else's life, and they don't have control
mm,
of their own or any idea of what's going on
mhm,
in their own or their own finances or their own health. They don't want to face it, so they'd rather just do this. This is kind of where we're at right now. So it's like, yeah, government, yeah, entertainment, yeah, but we are in charge of our lives and we can say no to this shit, which yeah, listen to my episodes. Sometimes you got to escape. But I just mean like, I see this one girl that was like having a meltdown because of the new Taylor Swift album. I'm like, really? Like, imagine having that kind of emotions for yourself and cheering yourself on that much. How powerful would you be? So it all
mhm,
ties together because it's like, we should know this stuff, but know how they're manipulating you so you're not paying attention to the fact that your RCMP is now changing you know what I mean? Like, it's just like, look at all this stuff and look at Taylor and Travis and look at this Beyonce, Jay-Z. And it's just like, oh, but in homelessness and ODs and all that's increasing, but it's fine because these celebrities are okay. So, so it's just like, make sure you know this stuff and you know this stuff, but don't do too much of each. Don't get too much into the political and the bad and whatever, but
yeah,
know enough to make some changes
balance,
and hold people accountable. And then you got to escape once in a while, escape, but know that this is an escape and it is entertainment and it's not
mhm,
healthy to do that. So this has
and
been
just
so
know
much
that it is
fun.
all that, right?
Yeah, sorry, go
But like,
ahead.
uh, I don't know where I was going with it.
I'm so
Oh,
sorry.
oh, no, don't be sorry. I think it was like I am a sucker. I think I was gonna add to it because I'm a sucker for reality TV, and I
Mm,
think that they did an interview with Rihanna, and she's like talking about how one of her. I enjoy Rihanna actually. I've seen her in concert. She's okay too.
yeah,
There's some people that I actually think are pretty dope. I like the
yeah.
more of like the underdogs of the realm
Mm,
of music. I
mm-hmm,
also like the ones I found on like things like Instagram because they were in
mm,
TikTok, right? So
yeah.
that's pretty dope. I like some of the stuff. I should when I said everything nowadays is trash. That's not true.
No, but
Some of the stuff is good, but
90%.
the mumble rap is trash, and Beyonce should not be in country. I said what I said. Um, But when it comes to, stuff like, yeah, like I like my Vanderpump Rules, and I think Rihanna has said like she likes her Vanderpump Rules, and it is just an escape. It
Mm-hmm.
should not be containing the rest of my life. I catch
Mm-mm.
myself though, if I watch it too often, I question myself.
Yeah.
So like I see like when you watch like the relationships on there, and I remember like looking at Sean, and I'd be like, oh, who are you texting? Or I'd be like, he's like, oh fuck, Holly, you've been watching your goddamn reality TV, and I was like, I do it for the drama because I don't have any. And that
Yes.
is like my little outlet to be like, whew, my life isn't like that. I don't surround
Yeah.
myself like that. But then you
Totally.
also got to look at the other side. Like, this shit could probably be scripted. We don't know. It's been accused of being scripted all the time. They talk about it on podcasts of not being. But like,
Yeah.
there's so many things happening that we don't see. So it's
Mm-mm.
like, it's to get a rise out of people, and it's exactly what it's doing.
Yeah.
So
Absolutely.
I was like, I will gladly say I enjoy myself some trashy Vanderpump Rules. Sean calls it
Totally.
Vanderdump. Here's your Vanderdump. And then he'll watch it with me. He's like, holy fuck. And I'm like, I know, right? Like, I can't believe that's happening. And it does consume
Yes.
some energy, but it also, I recognize that it is a distraction from my real life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't go out of my way of like, oh my God, it's on today. I have to go, blah, 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 blah. And some of that stuff, I used to be like that sometimes. Like when
Same.
it came to like back in the day when there's commercials, and but it was different then because you can't sit down and binge watch it then. You
Yeah.
had commercials
Exactly.
and you had
Different
to go pee on
times.
your commercial and make popcorn or
Yeah.
like whatever.
Oh
But like
yeah.
now it's like you can just sit down and binge it, and that's dangerous. It
So
is hella
dangerous.
dangerous. Like I
Yeah.
just watched Yellowstone, and I would say borderline addicted to Yellowstone, and it's good. And now I'm caught up, and now I don't know what to do
Hmm.
with myself because I don't know if there's going to be another season. And like I did that
See?
with you, I did that with Euphoria, and then I'm waiting
Oh.
for a year because the director of that was trying to convince their actors to do some shit that they didn't feel comfortable with. So and then you're like, I did that with One Tree Hill. I got all caught up, and then now you hear Hillary Burton is her name. She was talking about how it was terrible on set. Came out with a
Mm-hmm.
book about everything, and
Mm-hmm.
like
Yep.
it's like
Misha
I don't
Barton
want
on
to.
OC.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then you hear like all this stuff on the other side, and you're like, fuck, that's like the shit that I used to watch, but you don't see the things that are happening behind the scenes. So I'm like, do I
No.
actually want to condone any of this? But then it's
And
like, if
that's
you
where I
don't see
struggle
that,
to
then why do
support
you? But
anything.
then like, what if you don't? Then like, what are you watching? You're not,
I know. You're not. You're reading. I'm reading a lot more
which is
lately. I'm
which is
creating,
fine.
which is good.
But
Yeah. But having a
which
balance, right, is what it matters.
the scary part with me in reading though, I fell down a hole of like self-help stuff. So what
Mm.
happens with me is when I'm reading that in, I get addicted to the reading and I want to like read it, but then it becomes like I need to fix myself when
Mm.
I am okay with who I am. So it ends up becoming borderline not great for myself either. I have to give myself some variety.
Totally.
So if
Yep.
I'm doing the self-help stuff, it's like I'll read a book and it's, saying how I should do this. And then I'll read like a financial book that I'm like, oh my God, my finances are fucked. I remember reading like one of the Marie Kondos, and I don't know if I'm just like easily influenced or naive. I think it's just because I'm easily influenced because I want that guidance from somebody else instead of
Mm-hmm.
me having to figure it out myself when I already know I have all the answers. Ugh. But I remember like that one of like Marie Kondo's like like you simplifying your space, and it's like I think at that point I got rid of everything in my kitchen that was like an extra utensil. I think I was down to like forks, spoons, and knives. Everything else was fucking gone. I never had a potato masher, never had a fucking wooden spoon. None of this shit that I should probably have
Might need
for
them.
real life
Yep.
things. You might need
Yep.
them. I never had a whisk. Damn,
Yep.
like what the fuck? But like now I'm back and I'm like on the other side of it being like, oh shit, like I'm just easily influenced on
Mm.
stuff. So I'm like, at least I can see that.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot
Totally.
of people just live that and hear
Yeah.
people's vision of stuff for themselves,
Mm-hmm.
like, and they just
And that's
project
why
it on
so
them and
many
they just
people
absorb
are
it.
so
Ugh.
mentally not balanced because they're not aligning with themselves. They're aligning on whoever they see on TikTok or Instagram or Pinterest or whatever the fuck it is, right? So it's
And
like
it's a
take a
dangerous
step
hole.
back. Yeah, and take care of you. This is such a fun conversation, Halls. I knew we would have fun with this one. It's not that
Yeah,
I
oh
don't
hell yeah.
obviously love talking about catching up with you and stuff too, but I was like, I know that we both read weird shit online enough
Oh
that we
yeah, we
would
do.
both either understand or like want to know more about it. So I was like, I have to bring her on. I've only been doing this one by myself, so I was like, this is my
Yeah,
first one having
yeah.
a guest on the what in the actual internet because what the fuck is going on? But Holly, this is amazing. Just drop me your Instagram handle one more time for the people in the back so they can come follow you and all
Ooh.
the things that you do.
Okay, so my personal one is at hot mess Holly, hot mess underscore Holly G. And my work one is at the.hg.experience. And my picture is like a really adorable little
Oh,
geometric
so cute.
unicorn.
I love it so
Um,
much.
and now, fun fact, we know that
Yeah.
apparently 50 Cent is good at oral sex. So,
And now we know
in
that, and we
case you
didn't
were
know that before.
wondering, in
So,
case you were wondering, we
single
cleared
ladies
that
out
one
there,
up.
now we know
Fuck.
he's probably going to have an OnlyFans page called, like, I don't know, whatever, 50 Cent's tongue or something like that. Someone's going to make it
Could
up. So
you
now
imagine?
you
Oh my
guys
God.
know. Give some
Just so
people
you guys
some.
know, you
Yeah,
learned
just
it
so you
here.
know, you learned to hear first. Well, Halls, it's been an amazing conversation. Thank you for joining me again. I love you so
Oh,
much.
thank you for having me. I
Thank
love
you.
you.
All right, guys, don't forget to follow us. Listen all the time. I appreciate your support. But until next time, bye. Thank you guys so much for the support. I cannot thank you enough for being here. If you like this episode and you want to hear more, please give me a follow at the Be Real Babe podcast on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Rumble, and Pinterest. You can also find me on Facebook at the Be Real Collective. Until next time, guys, bye.